joy boy indeed. Oh my goodness, this is one that we will always remember. But okay, hello my nakamatachi, this is JoyGirl, and we are going to discuss the pure joy that was chapter 1044 of One Piece. And to start us off and really get us into the hype, I'm going to share the lovely artworks that we got from some of our Joy Fleet members for this week's artwork competition, and the theme just happened to be this very important moment of Luffy's awakened form. So I know I usually share these at the end, but I'm going to do it now to get us really into the absolutely hype mood, because seriously, how awesome are these drawings? A huge thank you to Lezentix and a huge thank you to Jiatsuki. Okay, now quickly, I know that we're all really hyped about this chapter, but before we get into all of that, let's just quickly go through all of the other bits first. So starting off, we get the ironic cover page of the Vince Smoke brothers who seem to be getting experimented on. They just really can't seem to escape scientific research and experimentation. I almost feel sorry for them. But this volume also made me quite curious about all of the powers of everyone at Whole Cake Island, because it seemed like some of those tools were floating. But anyways, as for inside the chapter, I just want to quickly address the other major content of chapter 1044, which seemed to be the climax of the confrontation between Hiyori and Orochi. So Hiyori continues her verbal assault on Orochi and finally takes her mask off in such an epic fashion, and that alongside the satisfying scene with Kazenbo attacking Orochi instead. It really was a great moment and I really enjoyed the scene. I especially liked the musical theme going on, which seemed to run throughout the chapter, first obviously with the drumming that we've seen from the previous chapter, but now also with the shamisen playing in this segment. But in all honesty, I felt like this segment was something to bring us down a notch in terms of this chapter's just overall hypeness. You know, just let us catch our breath for what's to come. But at the same time, it was a moment that felt so real and raw and was just such a beautifully emotional scene. So again, I personally loved it, but I do think it's going to become more of an afterthought for most people, just considering everything else that followed this segment. But some other things to mention is that Sanji is now awake and his eyebrows are back to normal. I do think there might be a minor role left for him in this arc, just because we know of what he's done at the end of previous arcs, so I am somewhat anticipating something from him. We also saw some other characters who realized that Luffy was still alive. I love the reactions of Nami and Tama. The way that Nami was just inconsolable, especially after what we saw of her in the last chapter. And also Chopper, I mean, just the relief that he must be feeling. I hope we get to see the rest of the Straw Hats and their reactions soon as well, because the only thing that would have made this chapter even more perfect than it already was to see all of the Straw Hats. But enough about everything else, let's get to the moment that we are all dying about. Luffy. Freaking Luffy. I really want to start off by saying that this is peak One Piece. This is peak fiction. There really is no other way to describe it other than that this chapter just encapsulates what One Piece is. It is the embodiment of Luffy, the free-spirited, laughing, chaotic ball of fun, but at the same time, the name, the Warrior of Liberation. It's just such a fitting name for Luffy, whose goal is to achieve absolute freedom for himself, but for others as well. There are also some great parallels between what we got in this chapter to what we saw in chapter 479 back in the Thriller Bark arc, which by the way, there really are so many parallels between these two arcs, which I have discussed in other videos before. But not only is chapter 479 titled The Warrior of Hope, in that chapter we see Luffy grabbing oars and just swinging him around, pounding him, throwing him around like we saw him do with Kaido in this chapter. And that really actually sends chills down my spine. I mean, it has me really hoping that my theory that we're going to see a brief Straw Hats versus Kaido moment is actually going to come into fruition, because that is what we saw for a very brief moment in chapter 480 following chapter 479, a very brief moment of the Straw Hats working against Oda'S together. So here's to hoping that Zoro is awake or is going to awake soon. But focusing on this chapter, what a massive reveal that Luffy's ability is not limited to just being rubber. That the Gomu Gomu no Mi's real name is the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika, which is a mythical Zoan fruit, therefore making it amongst the rarest of fruits in the series. In fact, one of the only other mythical deity fruit that we've seen is Sengoku'S. So like the way that Sengoku's basic ability is shockwaves, which I assume is the equivalent of Luffy having just rubber in its base form, then Sengoku's Buddha form must be see the awakening of his fruit in the same way that we're seeing Luffy and his sun god Nika. And I mean, how crazy is that? This is literally a moment almost 25 years in the making. This guy has been calling his devil fruit incorrectly this entire time. And it's a reveal that has me just really excited about how it's just going to absolutely change how I read the series when I reread the story in the future. Because I mean, it just completely recontextualizes how we understand and how we read that very first chapter. And on a more personal note, I'm just really glad that I'm here witnessing this moment alongside everyone else, because this is the first gear reveal that I'm witnessing. It certainly didn't disappoint. It was just such a One Piece moment through and through. I can't think of any other shonen series that would treat such a huge moment for its protagonist getting an insane new power and completely changing what we knew his ability to be, and doing so in just such a fun and goofy manner. It really fits so well with the series, with Luffy's character, and what Oda has been telling us about his series this entire time. Leading up to the reveal of the true nature of Luffy's devil fruit, there was so much concern about him being OP, about how this would change everything we knew about Luffy's hard work and his determination and his creativity in transforming his seemingly goofy and insignificant devil fruit into the truly combative force that we have seen him to achieve. But the way that Oda has written the story, it really still fits. And it's also quite particularly cheeky in that in the dialogue, in the Gorosei's dialogue, we have them actually say that his power is ridiculous. But then something else that we get through that dialogue is that even though Luffy is in possession of a deity fruit, a mythical Zoan, it wasn't the fruit that gave him everything to achieve what he has achieved so far. In fact, it's the reverse. It's because he's been able to achieve everything that he's now able to awaken the devil fruit to now fully possess all of its powers. And from here on out, there really is just endless excitement as to what we can see. Because the ability of his fruit is just limited to his imagination, can you just imagine how much fun we're gonna have in the future? This is Luffy's imagination. If you think about everything that he did through his creativity when he thought that this was just a rubber fruit, now think of all the crazy stuff that he's going to be able to pull off now. And I mean, that was perfectly shown through the fighting in this chapter. I mean, it was just absolute perfection in terms of the hype, but then the equally goofy and cartoony way that Oda depicted the action. This chapter really brought out the pure joy that you feel as an innocent child. And I love that Oda hasn't lost that emotion, hasn't lost that feeling, and that he also injects that into his story. You know, no matter how serious the stakes are. And he did say from the beginning that he chose Luffy's devil fruit to bring joy and bring laughter to people, even when things got tense, even when things got serious. And that's exactly what we got in this chapter. And I also love how Oda applied this to Kaido. He's not scared to make the strongest creature in the world look goofy and have fun with the main antagonist. Seriously, only in One Piece could this be pulled off. I mean, seeing Kaido with all the cartoon eyes popping out, him getting swung around, all the sound effects. I mean, you could quite literally hear all the boing 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 and the yoinks. And it really did create that childlike cartoonish atmosphere. But then simultaneously, it doesn't feel like Oda has overdone it, because you could still see in some of the panels how serious Kaido is and how serious Kaido is taking this battle. And I also think it's a testament to how Oda has built up Kaido throughout this arc, throughout the series, so that treating Kaido, the main antagonist, in this manner with so much fun and so much goofiness doesn't damage his character, and it doesn't make us think of him as a joke. I really feel like I've been saying this every week, but I do have to say it again, because this is just truly a chapter that showcases Oda's mastery of storytelling. I mean, right from the beginning of the chapter, I had goosebumps. Oda really did a fantastic job of balancing emotions throughout the chapter. I mean, I could first feel the tension and the anticipation by starting off with the reveal of Luffy's true devil fruit name, and the conversation going on between the Gorosei, and then the emotions with Hiyori, like I mentioned earlier, and then the constant build-up in excitement as we see people's reaction to Luffy, as well as the build-up in hype of getting to see Luffy now back up again, but just seeing snippets of Luffy. You know, first showing us that he's up, seeing his dialogue, and then his silhouette, and then just gradually seeing parts of his body, his smile, until we finally see his full Gear 5th form in all of its goofy glory. And then, like I said, just absolute joy for the rest of the chapter. And now the chapter does certainly raise a fair number of questions about Luffy, about his devil fruit. I mean, for example, the fact that we saw him, almost fulfilling the bouncy castle. I mean, whoa. And I really would love to get into all of those discussions as the week unfolds. But for now, I just wanted to share my initial thoughts and my initial excitement and pure joy. So thank you for checking out my review. Make sure to subscribe if you'd like more One Piece discussions. Let me know what you think of the chapter by leaving a comment below. Don't forget to like and share the video. You can also join my Joy Fleet Discord server or even become a Patron member. And I want to thank all my patrons for help supporting the channel. This is JoyGirl, and I'll see you again soon.